Well, last time I told you that long-term relation with the buyers and sellers might be um, a case of monopoly or monopsony. This is especially the case when you have uh, one, well, on one side, a buyer with many different sellers, or the vice versa, and seller with only one potential buyer. uh, that form that relation. The typical case could be school, where as a parent, when you give your student to your child to a school, in that case, of course, at the second year, even if you have an option to move your child to a marginally better school, probably, at least many parents won't do that because the child has already um, has gone to school and actually invested in it. So it is difficult for the child to be moved to another school uh, once the relation is built, just because you have found a different school. Of course, this is one thing. The other thing is, looking for a new school might be, in some cases, costly. Making all that research, maybe going to the place, investigating it, using the time. And that cost of finding a new school also gives the school itself a monopoly power. In that case, the school is selling the education. We assume that. Um, so, in case things prevent you to break your bonds with the buyer, if it's necessary for you to spend resources to find a buyer or seller. Okay, once you have found a buyer or seller, that buyer and seller has kind of a monopoly or monopsony power on you, because finding another buyer and seller is difficult for you. Plus, once you have established relation with the buyer and seller, if leaving the job itself is costly for you because you have lost some experience, or you won't be as productive as you were there, or there are some risks, you don't know how things will go on in the other workplace. In that case, also, this creates additional monopoly and monopsony power, in addition to the one I have mentioned. Um, well, the school has, the student has monopsony power, buying power. No, because school is communicating with multiple students. Of course, if all students are combined and negotiate together with the school, in that case, they might have some power on the school, because it's not easy for the school to replace whole student body at once. But well, as I said, when the on the other side, you have many single buyers of education. In that case, I'm in school. Uh, well, school for the school, um, a single buyer's decision-making process might not be important, as long as it is done in an uncoordinated manner with the other buyers. Of course, as long as that student's parents start to communicate and act in a coordinated manner with other students, then things will matter. But up to that point, it won't matter. Okay. Um, in the labor market, actually, as I said, when you have a case of union, you might also have a monopoly case. But you might also have a monopsony case because of the other reason I have mentioned. So in this case, in this lecture, we will see the monopsony case, not monopoly case. In the labor market, we will briefly discuss the monopoly case, and then we will also discuss the case when a single buyer and seller meet with each other in the market. What happens in that case? Okay. Well, these are some additional thing. I think we can pass it. Well, here I have asked the question whether coordination of employers themselves might create a monopsony power. I ask the question, I leave the question. I like leaving certain questions unanswered in my lectures because I think unanswered questions helps you to, well, well, think about what we have learned, what you have learned in past courses and this course, and basically develop your own understanding, which is important for your learning process in at the university, basically. Anyway, now we will see how this is the last part of the background information. Well, I should mention that there is a key study which has actually shattered the assumptions of people that minimum wage, well, as imperfect as the traditional markets are as a model for the labor market, still the differences might not be that important, and many economists were thinking and they still think to some extent, especially the ones that are not familiar with the labor economics, minimum wage might actually causing unemployment. I mean, this happens almost always so, except the Keynesian explanation. I mean, that stands as one explanation in the that is known by non-labor economists, say mostly. This study, well, there is actually a study in labor economics, which actually has shown results that are contrary to that, which means actually it showed that minimum wage increase has not increased but decreased the unemployment. And this is an empirical study, this is not a theory. It's a very interesting study. It was surprising study. It was surprising for the economists who did this study also. And it is not that much represented in the macro or microeconomics courses. Some economists who are working in other areas might have just learned about it and read about it out of interest of other fields. I'm also interested in other fields, so I read on them. But especially, I mean, that there are significant number of economists who don't know this study. I will talk on this study, this empirical study, and then its explanation in more detail. But before going into detail with this study, which again is a pure empirical study, it doesn't have a model which shows how minimum wage increase can basically decrease the unemployment. I will show you a model on which is taken from your book, by the way, which shows how minimum wage increase in case of a monopsonist market can actually, according to the traditional monopsony analysis, can actually decrease the unemployment. So this lecture is actually just an extension of the traditional labor market model. So we still are, when we look to the case of monopsony, we will still do our basic marginal analysis. We won't go beyond that. It is an extension, and then we discuss the possibility of having again monopsony. So we will see that models first, and then the study, and then the possibility of the monopsony. Okay, as a starting point, we will make a marginal analysis similar to what we have done 2 lectures before, but now with varying prices. In 2 lectures before, I mean the prices were fixed, now prices will vary. And here I mean the price of inputs you buy, that's labor power. So wage might vary. The more you buy, the more workers, the more labor you buy. And the price of what you sell also varies. So we will see actually again we will take both markets, the product market and the labor market, into account. In microeconomics, you might see the case when price varies but wage doesn't vary. So we will now see what happens when both of them vary. So we have an analysis with a company which is a monopoly in the goods market and monopsony in the labor market. We have a shoe workshop as a model. So as the more shoes you sell, the lower will be the price. The more workers you hire, the higher will be the wage, because when you hire more workers, then basically you need to increase your wage to attract more workers, and you need to decrease the price so that more people will buy your shoes. So some other assumptions: we assume shoe workshop pays to every worker same wage, not $5 to one worker, $10 to another worker. Labor cost is only significant costs. We assume our company has power in both. Okay, this is obvious. Margin productivity of workers is constant. All workers have the same productivity, which is pretty much standard assumption, which biggest problem of the labor economics in my case, because labor market is much more dynamic than these analyses show mostly. And again, I challenge you, if you want to go further than what I tell, think what happens when I relax these assumptions. I mean, you might think on one or more than that. It's interesting, and I was doing this as an exercise when I was learning theories like this. And when you pay one pair of shoe, you got $100. You increase number of shoes by 1 minute, the price fell $10. So total revenue you got from the one shoe is $100 for 2 shoes, 180 from, well, basically this is it. So when you do the when you basically do the analysis using Excel, and let me open Excel. Well, okay, let's do what we have done in that slide here. We have price, which is equal to average revenue. We have total revenue and marginal revenue, I believe. Yes, total revenue and marginal revenue. So the quantities go all the way up to, I believe, 10. If more, we can go further. This is +1. And for the first shoe, it was $100. And for each successive shoe, we reduced the price by $10. So for the total revenue, we need to multiply the quantity with the average price. And for the marginal revenue, for the first one, it is equal to total revenue. For the second one, since selling 0 shoes brings you $0. And for the second one, we should just subtract the total revenue with 2 shoes from the total revenue with 1 shoe. Well, it is 80. Marginal revenue is less than the price. Why is this so? This is so because when you sell the second shoe, since you decide instead of selling the 1 shoe to sell 2 shoes, the money you got from the first shoe also fell by $10. So you earn $90 from the second shoe, but you earn $10 less from the first shoe. We will continue.